Welcome back to Sip the Tally Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and on today's episode of Ravens Daily, we got three things we really want to talk about. One, a former quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens found a new home. Two, another former Ravens quarterback found a new home. And three, we want to look at the depth of the draft and how that should affect what we pick in rounds 1 and 2. Welcome back to Sip the Tally Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans. On two. Ready, hut! Welcome back to the channel. But before we get into it, do me a favor, hit that like button. Don't cost you nothing. Takes about 5 seconds. Hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel out tremendously. It helps us reach people that are not subscribed so they can eventually be subscribers. So if you want to help me out, I appreciate you hitting that like button. Let's get into today's content. So first off, Josh Johnson, the backup quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, former backup quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, who's only 9 years younger than me. What I will say about Josh Johnson, he's Team Taurus. His birthday is on the day after mine. And so that's a big positive for him. But again, Josh is only 9 years younger than me, and I'm way past any athletic prime I had. But he's got a new deal. Signed with the Commanders. Probably ain't got to move from wherever he's living in their area. And going to be a backup to to a similar quarterback than what he was a backup to last year. So he'll go and back up Jaden Daniels, who have a lot of qualities comparable to Lamar Jackson, and some people want to compare them a lot, and both of those guys don't like the comparison. You know, Jaden is Jaden, Lamar is Lamar, but Josh Johnson is going to back up Jaden Daniels, who, you know, to keep it a buck, has similar traits to Lamar, and then he will probably don't have to move much. But just take Josh's career and put it in perspective for a minute. I'm gonna run you down his list of NFL teams that he's played for, been a backup for, and this cat been around for a long time. He was drafted in 2008, 5th round by Tampa Bay. So his playing history, and this is in no sequential order. I'm just gonna give you the teams and the timeline he's played against. For Baltimore Ravens, 2021, 2022, 2023, up until this past season. Denver Broncos, 2022 to 2023. Washington Redskins, 2018, 2019. Now he's back there now as the Commanders. Cleveland Browns, 2012 to 2013. San Francisco 49ers, 2022 to 2023. The New York Jets, 2021 to 2022. Cincinnati Bengals, 13 to 14. Then the team he was originally drafted to, the Tampa Bay Bucks, from 2009 to 2012, which is 3 seasons. He's found a way to hang around a long time. Went to college at San Diego. So, you know, salute to you, Josh, for hanging around and really never having to get, I don't want to say a real job, but a regular job. You fell in love with football, and you've been able to do it up until 39. And so, hey, if you're going to keep being a backup, that's one of the safest jobs in the NFL. So salute to you, Josh, for finding your new home for the next coming year. And, you know, maybe you have to play, maybe you don't. Your job is to mentor Jaden and help him out in whatever similar fashion you did with Lamar. So I'm sure they're signing you for your experience and not necessarily for you to get on the field and play.
Tampa Bay, the Niners, Sacramento Mountain Lions, Cleveland, Cincinnati, the Niners, Cincinnati, the Jets, Colts, the Bills. That offseason was here. Baltimore, then the Giants. After the Giants was the Texans, the Raiders, Commanders now, the Detroit Lions, the XFL, the Niners, the Jets, the Ravens, Denver, Niners, Baltimore.
The next former Baltimore Ravens quarterback that found a new home is Joe Flacco. And I don't know if you can say this is Joe Flacco re-upping, because he played with Cleveland once before, and now he's back with Cleveland with the potential to be the starter looking at their quarterback roster right now. But we all know Joe. We know what he did in that playoff run where he played immaculate, almost error-free football on that run to the Super Bowl, and got a contract, and the life after that contract wasn't the greatest. Some I think is his fault, some I think is upper management fault, and some is just we didn't get it done. So eventually Joe got hurt lost his job to Lamar, and we haven't looked back at the quarterback position since then. Joe's kind of bounced around since then. He went from Baltimore to Denver, from Denver to New York, the Jets, from the Jets to Cleveland, and then last year with the Colts. And now he's going back to Cleveland. But I really just want to highlight his numbers while he was in Baltimore. Just in his 11-year career in Baltimore, he as a starter, he was 96-67. Great winning percentage. 3,499 completions. His completion percentage was 61.7. Over 38,000 yards. Over 200 touchdowns. 136 interceptions. And what was the last number I had? And an overall QB rating of 84. So Joe had a good run in Baltimore. But when you let Lamar get on the field, he didn't give it back. And that's what a lot of veterans, they try to keep the young guys off the field because they know once they get on the field, it's a good possibility that they're not going to get it back. But Joe, I guess he just can't get enough of this AFC North. And I don't really know if Joe really wants the smoke that he about to get. The NFL is moving away from those Statue of Liberty quarterbacks. And that's just Joe's skill set. He's going to stand in the pocket and try to deliver the ball. And unless he has a great O-line, which the Browns do not, like over the past 3 years, the Browns line has deteriorated like you know what. And so he's going to have to be behind a patchwork offensive line, and that's going to make him a standstill target. And for what you got in the AFC North with the Steelers, us when we create blitzes, well, I don't know what the Bengals going to do with Hendrickson, but that don't bode well. Now, but if they can find some way to get him protection, he may be all right. But one of those standstill quarterbacks, I don't think it's going to look good or end well for Joe Flacco. But that's my 2 cents on that. But again, Joe Flacco has found a new home. He left Baltimore, went to Denver, from Denver to New York, from New York to Cleveland, from Cleveland to Indianapolis, and now back to Cleveland. So Joe Flacco's with the Browns. Be prepared to take these 2 L's and a bunch of beatings, Joe. And I hope you got some good ice at hot, because we're gonna bring that work to you. And last but definitely not least, I want to talk about the draft depth. And if you look at this chart by Gridiron Grading, it has the strongest position groups in the 2025 draft class. And what it has is offensive tackle, 14 in the top 100, they're tier 1. Edge, 13 in the top 100, they're tier 1. Interior defensive line, they have 10 guys in the top 100, and they're tier 2. The receivers, tight ends, running back, and quarterbacks are tier 2 classes, even with quarterback being 2.5. And then the tier 3 is cornerback, linebacker, interior O-line, and then safety being the very last one. They're the only tier 4. So what this means to me is, because you have an abundance of good offensive linemen, offensive tackles, you have an abundance of good edge guys, you have an abundance of good interior defensive linemen. What it tells me is, and this is strictly for the Ravens thing, because of thinking about our needs, because cornerback is tier 3, you might want to get one of them early. Because what this means is, all those guys that are in that group, after the top guys are gone, the drop off is huge. That's what this chart means to me. And if you think differently, put it in the comment section. I'd love to hear your opinions. But to me, because cornerback being a tier 3 group, I suggest you go get one of those guys that you really want early, and then work your way back to the groups that have a bunch of talent, like offensive tackle, like edge, interior D-line. And with us having so many picks, we can get a decent or even multiples of offensive linemen, edge, and interior defensive linemen. So to me, going off this chart, I feel like we should go corner in the first round, especially if one's there that we really like, and then start working those other groups later on in the draft, because there are more quality guys in those groups. And the groups I speak of are offensive tackle, edge, and interior defensive line, all of who I think we should pick up with those 11 picks. And in one of those categories, maybe even 2, get 2 guys. So this is what I have for you today, man. On 4/11/20 25th episode of Ravens Daily. This is Coach Evans. If you have not hit that like button, please do so. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and hit that bell so you can be notified when the rest of this content drops, when I can get it out to you. So I appreciate you guys, man. Make sure you tap into the second channel, which is more Sip the Tally. More draft content will continually be dropped up until the draft, which is 2 weeks from today. And don't forget, we'll have a draft mega cast over here with about 7 or 8 guys discussing the draft as it goes on, starting 4/24 at 8 p.m. So I appreciate you guys, man. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.